Few aircraft in the history of combat aviation have caused this much buzz. It's been hailed as a pinnacle of technology, yet also faced endless criticism. Of course, we're talking about the F-35, a project worth billions of dollars, involving dozens of countries and still sparking never-ending debates. The F-35 is back in the spotlight, but this time it's because buyer countries are canceling their orders. We'll take a closer look at why nations investing in this fifth-generation fighter are choosing to cut back or scrap their orders entirely. Ready? Let's dive in. The F-35 isn't just an American project. It's a global fighter jet program built through collaboration among multiple nations. In fact, it's one of the US's biggest international cooperation efforts. The idea was simple. Don't shoulder the massive costs of developing and producing a fifth-generation fighter alone. Share the burden with partner countries. For allied nations, the program offered a double advantage. They wouldn't just acquire stealth technology fighters, but would also have a hand in shaping their production. At the same time, the US aimed to position the F-35 as the replacement for NATO's long-standing mainstay, the F-16. Many NATO nations have already moved to order the F-35, while others are planning to follow suit. And there's one truth no one can deny. The F-35 is among the most cutting-edge fighter jets ever built, representing the pinnacle of fifth-generation technology. The scenario has taken a sharp turn. Several countries are halting their F-35 orders, or weighing significant reductions. One of the major forces behind this shift, Donald Trump. His push for NATO members to boost defense spending has brought the F-35 controversy back into the spotlight. The war between Ukraine and Russia, combined with US hints about possibly cutting support to Ukraine and leaving Europe to face Russia alone, has sparked a pressing question among countries that have ordered or are considering the F-35. Will America truly leave us on our own in the future? The world has faced uncertainty in US defense policies and a growing trust deficit in international partnerships. A major factor behind this is Trump's aggressive tariffs and policies, which have intensified global economic tensions. Let's start with the United Arab Emirates. Although the F-35 deal was approved during Donald Trump's first term, the $23 billion agreement, including 50 fighter jets and 19 armed drones, was put on hold under Joe Biden's administration. The F-35 agreement was rooted in a major political maneuver, the UAE's normalization of ties with Israel. This move sent a clear signal to Washington, granting Abu Dhabi access to cutting-edge fifth-generation fighter jets. By the end of 2020, the situation took an unexpected turn. As soon as the Biden administration came to power, the negotiations were frozen. Although technical requirements, operational limitations, and high costs were presented as the reasons, in reality, more subtle and decisive factors were at play behind the scenes. For Washington, the main concern was the UAE's decision to adopt China's 5G network. The risk the US envisioned was clear. If such communication infrastructure were trusted, highly classified technologies like the F-35 could end up in Beijing's hands. In other words, it wasn't merely a matter of technology choice, but a serious national security threat. Washington wasn't just selling the jets. It intended to impose restrictions on how they could be used. In practice, this meant that even if the UAE paid billions, it wouldn't gain full independence over its F-35 fleet. Abu Dhabi, however, had little patience for such conditions and refused to tolerate them for long. Through a $19 billion deal with France, the UAE decided to acquire 80 Rafale F-4 fighter jets. This wasn't merely a military purchase. Abu Dhabi was sending a message to the world that its diplomatic options extend far beyond Washington. Even though US officials insisted that talks were ongoing, by September 2024, the reality was clear. UAE made it known that F-35 discussions would remain on hold for the foreseeable future. During this period, the UAE refused to back down. Instead, it pursued alternatives. The Rafale deal with France was already active, and they also acquired L-15 trainer jets from China. At the same time, South Korea's rising KF-21 fighter jet caught serious attention. A comprehensive cooperation agreement was signed in April 2025, and on August 7, 2025, the UAE's Deputy Deputy Defense Minister, and South Korea's Air Force commander carried out a joint friendship flight. Put simply, the UAE has made its interest in the KF-21 very clear. Here's a quick look at the jet. Built in South Korea, the KF-21 stands out with a low radar signature, streamlined airframe, advanced AESA radar, and the capability to carry both air-to-air and air-to-ground missiles. Although officially labeled a 4.5 generation aircraft, it stands out for delivering select 5th generation technologies at a cost-effective price. For the UAE, these capabilities are the primary draw. Abu Dhabi is also eyeing China's J-20, but it's unclear if Beijing will sell. Exports are rare, and any deal depends on China's strategic choices. The UAE is also looking at Turkey's KAAN fighter. Media reports have highlighted this interest multiple times, and TUSESH leadership confirmed it publicly. Abu Dhabi proposed co-production, allowing them to contribute to components and subsystems, similar to Turkey's role in the F-35 program, while boosting their domestic defense industry. KAAN is shaping up as a strategic alternative for the UAE. U.S. restrictions no longer hold back the UAE. The nation is exploring flexible and alternative routes from both Europe and Asia. Spain stands out as one of the countries most troubled by the F-35. In 2023, it set aside €6.25 billion to acquire 50 F-35s for its Air Force and 15 STOVL F-35s for its Navy. But those plans are now history. The plan was to replace aging FA-18 Hornets and AV-8B Harriers with F-35s. Yet on August 6, 2025, Madrid announced an indefinite halt to its purchase program. Spain opts for a more measured defense approach. Rejecting Trump's high demands, Pedro Sanchez insists NATO's 2% target is enough and refuses any extra burden. Despite pressure from Trump, Spain stepped back. The move wasn't solely about NATO spending. It was also shaped by high costs and technical reliability concerns. For Spain, the F-35 comes with systems that limit operational freedom and rely on the US. Added to this are far higher lifetime costs compared to European jets. These factors led Spain to change course, boosting its Eurofighter Typhoon fleet to 115 and turning attention to the FCAS project with France and Germany. Spain's alternatives to the F-35 include the Eurofighter Typhoon, FCAS, and Tempest. Spanish media also highlights Turkey's indigenous KAAN fighter as a potential F-35 substitute. Looking at America's northern neighbor, Canada took a record step in 2023, signing a $19 billion deal for 88 F-35As for its Air Force. Ottawa aimed to bolster its NATO and NORAD commitments, yet the situation quickly became tangled. By 2025, U.S. policies cast a clear shadow over Canada, as Trump's economic pressures and talk of a 51st state, plus 25% tariffs ignited heated debates over the F-35. Discontent toward the U.S. is growing across Canada. Rising costs and unclear signals from Washington sparked serious concern. 16 F-35s have been delivered so far, yet debates continue within the government and public. Cut the numbers or halt the program completely. Canada hasn't made an official move yet, but instead of canceling, it's considering trimming the order. Plans on the table include reducing part of the 88 jets and shifting the rest of the investment toward European-made aircraft. Canada's Defense Minister, Bill Blair, confirmed the country is taking a serious look at new fighter jets. The Rafale, Gripen, and Eurofighter aren't just options anymore. They're strong contenders, with Sweden's Saab Gripen standing out. These jets are operated by the militaries of Sweden, the Czech Republic, Hungary, South Africa, Brazil, and Thailand. For Canada, the appeal isn't just cost or specs, it's how well the aircraft fit the country's unique geography. The Gripen is a perfect fit for Canada's vast Arctic regions. Its cold weather design and fuel efficiency make long-range patrols easier. On top of that, it can operate from 800-meter runways, a major advantage for remote northern airports. While the Gripen suits Canada's needs, its engine is made in the US. That means American export controls could pose challenges for Canada. India is one of of the countries that outright rejected the F-35, although it showed interest starting in 2005 and made information requests in 2010 and 2018. These never turned into an official purchase. In February 2025, US President Donald Trump offered the F-35 to India's Prime Minister. India rejected the offer, citing Trump's 25% tariffs and its own Make in India initiative. The country isn't just looking to buy, they want to produce the jets locally, which ultimately kept them away from the F-35. After rejecting the F-35, India turned its focus to its homegrown AMCA fighter project. This move prompted Russia to step in, offering a tailored package that included both the Su-57 and Su-35M jets. The Russian deal includes local production and tech transfer in India. Experts believe India is likely to choose Russia. Another option is the Rafale. 36 jets are already in service, with more purchases under consideration. Compared to the F-35, the Rafale creates less dependency and better suits India's operational needs. Back in Europe, we turn to Portugal, which dropped F-35 plans before even receiving a formal offer. By March 2025, the country had considered replacing its F-16 with F-35s, but those plans are now off the table. In March 2025, several nations began re-evaluating their F-35 orders. The driving force, Trump's warnings and remote control rhetoric, tariff threats to NATO allies, halting aid to Ukraine, claims on Greenland, and alerts to Canada all played a role. Portugal reconsidered its F-35 plans. Defense Minister Nuno Melo stated that the country's €5.5 billion project was reassessed due to the unpredictability of the US and Trump's NATO policies. Melo explained that the world has changed, and the US could impose restrictions on how allies operate, maintain, or access components of the F-35. This statement clearly highlighted why Portugal halted its F-35 plans. Portugal has strong reasons to step back from the F-35. Concerns over US-controlled software and limited operational freedom are pushing the country toward European options. Rafale, Saab, JAS-39 Gripen, and Eurofighter Typhoon. The Rafale and Gripen are appealing for Portugal due to low costs and less dependence on the US. Meanwhile, the F-35's fate remains unclear. Cancellation has been rumored, but nothing official has been confirmed. Next, we focus on Switzerland, which has recently sparked heated debates over its F-35 Lightning II project. Back in 2022, the country signed a deal with Lockheed Martin to acquire 36 F-35As, a contract worth about 6 billion Swiss francs. By 2025, this program had become one of the most controversial defense initiatives in the nation. Switzerland now faces uncertainty over its F-35 program due to financial challenges, reliance on the US, and internal political disputes. The crisis began when Washington demanded higher prices, using inflation and global costs as justification to place extra burdens on the country. Concerns over Switzerland's F-35 program are mounting. Fears that the US could remotely control the jets have sparked speculation, while the Green Party and Social Democrats are calling for the deal's cancellation, leaving the project's future uncertain. In August 2025, Switzerland's Green Party took formal action, demanding a halt to the F-35 program. The Defense Ministry, however, stated that only a cut in the number of jets was on the table, and the nation would stay in the program. Switzerland is exploring alternatives like the Rafale, Gripen, and Eurofighter jets. The nation is still set on continuing with the F-35 program, but reducing the number of orders remains a possibility. Financial pressures and political challenges are increasingly casting doubt on that commitment. The F-35 remains at the center of attention for many countries. This is fueled by Trump's statements, NATO defense spending, the unpredictable nature of US foreign policy, and concerns over the jet's potential remote control capabilities. If this trend continues, the F-35 will remain one of the most debated topics, not just in the skies, but in global politics as well. A quick reminder. This channel analyzes political situations and offers different perspectives. The comments you leave here really help me understand your political views better. So please, make sure to share your thoughts on this topic.